Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about psychology and true crime. This week, I wanted to focus on the similarities and differences that we may have noticed with Sarah Boone and Lori Vallow, Daybell, Vallow. And both of them, because even with Sarah Boone, I prefer to think of her as Sarah Paulson, which is her maiden name, because she divorced Brian. And I hope that their family court stuff works out. If you follow Tanika, Tanika's 2 cents, she's been following, I think she's going to go to the custody thing. And I need to parent for a second. Yes. What are two problems?
The
First problem
is that we're out of
hand soap or paper towels.
paper towels, and then the second
Problem.
problem is that the toilet wasn't flushing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell Dada? Okay, thank you. All right, thank y'all. And so with all this been going on with court cases, somebody has been asking for, I think more than one person has asked me to do this breakdown. And so here we go. I like this. If it's Sarai, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but Lori Cox, I like that. Toilet problems are very real. Dad is very much here. And it's right. Like I literally pressed the go live button and then he lets me know that there's an issue. I think I was the one that used the last paper towel inside of his bathroom. And so and anybody following our washer and dryer situation, we got those. We got our new ones. And so I was able to do the vacation laundry yesterday and today. But okay, getting into this breakdown, and let me pull up my notes. I did want to start with some of their similarities. And in both of these individuals, we see them breaking the law and them breaking the law and then blaming their victim for what happened to them and them trying to gaslight us, trying to reverse the situation, Darvo the situation, to make themselves the victim in the situation when they were very much the offender. And I think the roots of some of their issues, I think it's different. And I did a short video, and we can talk about it again here, talking about which one do I think is more violent. Now, I think they both have some antisocial traits. I think Lori Vallow's the extent that she went to break the law went beyond Sarah Boone. So she also did like money fraud and she did all of these other things. Sarah, it was mostly, and not to minimize anything, because the harm she did to George was not fair and it was definitely a problem. She likely has been bullying her ex, Brian Boone. So she definitely had some problematic behaviors too. I do feel like Lori's issues were a bit more criminal. And she also got away with it longer than Sarah did, because now Sarah did get away because she did try to allege that she was the victim in these DV situations. And so that part, the police did side with her. And in a similar way, when Charles Vallow called the police saying that he felt in fear for his life and in fear for the children, the police very much sided with him as well. Let me know if you all have questions as we are going. Yes, and that's where that antisocial. So to me, Lori is definitely the more dangerous person. I feel like with Sarah Boone, she's likely to be manipulative and deceptive. Um, I but and I don't know that she meant for George to die. I still feel like I think she blacked out and she legit did not remember like what happened, and that's and that doesn't minimize her culpability. Voluntary substance use does not reduce somebody's legal responsibility in Florida, but I just find Lori to be the more violent person. And Lori used her religious beliefs to, and some people will call them delusions, to justify her behaviors, but she also lies. So her religious beliefs, s- consciously or subconsciously, seem to match with what she wanted. And so I think she is like a cult leader that I don't know if she really believes all of her lies, but this is what she's using to make herself look great, to make herself into this god-like person, this translated being. Like, I think that's what she very much wants to be. I don't know if she actually believes all of it. Um, and then some people are saying that they definitely saw Lori as being much more manipulative. And I feel like they both can be manipulative. I will give them, for me personally, I'm going to give them a tie on the manipulation. YouTube gave you top fan. Go ahead and keep that top fan status. But welcome Phoenix. I originally scheduled it for 6:05, but I was able to go live at 6. Yes. And Northwest is saying that religion was a justification with that Lori used. For Sarah, I think alcohol played a big role. And then also, they both have this sadistic uh vengeful part of them where they are punishing others. Let me make a note. These are just my thoughts and opinions. I have not met them. I cannot say for sure any of these things. This is just based on researching their stories, listening to the testimony of the psychologists that did assess them, and then also because Sarah also had a psychiatrist assess her. Lori, she originally went into her first trial so delusional, so just over the top, that she ended up in a state hospital to get her competency restored because she would not abide by the basic rules and everything. Let me parent for a second. Is everything good with the potty, with the toilet? Did Dada do it? He'll do it later.
The, the good news
Good news?
is that the toilet there's no more pee in
Okay, good. So it's
the
gone.
toilet, but part of the tissue isn't sticking out.
Okay, so we will handle it after I get offline. Okay, before dinner. Okay, yep. Thank you for doing that quietly. Um, and so my kiddo is almost 8 years old, and he's so hilarious because sometimes he overhears some of the things that I talk about. Now, anytime we talk about cases involving SA or I can't say the word grooming, I kick him out for those conversations. But he knows that murder is wrong and that people go to jail for it, and so he knows that mommy talks about true crime, and so he is he's hilarious. And so uh and then anytime I'm listening to any of the court testimony and everything, I normally have my headphones on, so he's not hearing all of the details. And because when he first came in, he was like, "Mommy, why is your door open?" And so I let him be in here for this. I'm glad you're drinking some water. It is so hot in Virginia. um uh may your AC be running if you are in the middle of this heat wave. That's, I think it's all across America. Like, I hope that everybody is staying cool out there. So you're staying cool because you have on your shorts. Awesome. I'm gonna focus here. Okay. You are adorable and I love you so much. Okay. All right. So going back to some of the comparison between Lori and Sarah, I have to talk about narcissism. So narcissistic traits of entitlement. So they both, I think, felt entitled to this justice process that was supposed to lead to their innocence. And I think they both blame the system for why they were found guilty when actually it was the evidence. And their defense was not a good one. So the fact that Sarah Boone said self defense, that was the reason why the state was able to bring in some of, in my opinion, the most damning evidence against her. So the first part of the state's case, when I was like, oh, like I was a little worried, especially after hearing the defense present their case. But in Sarah Boone's case, the state's rebuttal case, that's where the text messages and the the videos of George in the corner, just like that's where some of the worst evidence came out against her, and that was the state rebutting that she was the victim. And so she did it to herself. With Lori Vallow, in her second and third trials, she presented no defense and chose to represent herself. Now Sarah Boone, and that's where I don't know if the lawyer that ended up working that she ended up working with, because he really rescued her, because Sarah Boone was supposed to represent herself, and it would have been a turd show. Like it would have been the worst if Sarah had represented herself. At least her lawyer, he knew the rules. He knew how to present the case, how to present arguments. And with witnesses, they weren't having to talk to the person that caused them harm. And so when Lori Vallow she had to interview Brandon. Like Brandon had to face her and had to just sit back as she went down ridiculous paths that likely weren't even true. And but they both um so thought that they had the best strategy to defend their case. So if something happened with me and I had a court case, I actually did have a situation where I had to consult with a lawyer. And through that consultation, because I just wanted to confirm, this is how I'm handling a situation. Is this right? And my lawyer said, you're handling it correctly. And I was able to proceed. But I didn't go in saying, I'm the psychologist and I I follow law tube, so I know the law. Like I didn't go in trying to say that I knew everything and that they should listen to me. I don't know. It was they both handle things in a very weird way. And I agree. So I think both Lori and Sarah both have a sadistic side where I think they enjoyed punishing others. Because Sarah's as far as she would record the ways that she was harming George. And that evidence was used against her later. And I think that pattern of recording him in his lowest moments, I think that's why we ended up with the suitcase video. Even in her likely alcoholic, because her words were very slurred, even in the state she was in, because I don't think she remembered recording that video. I don't think she did. I don't think she remembered that it was on her phone. And because she's a bit erratic, because she comes into the police station with this list of questions and doesn't realize that they've already seen the video. And they're just waiting to get the warrant and they're just waiting to get everything in place because she's getting arrested that day. Um, Lori got away with her crimes longer than Sarah did because I think the minute the police arrived to the scene and they saw the scene, they saw the situation, they knew what happened. And Sarah was the one that did it with her own hands. It seems like for Lori, she used her brother Alex as her personal hit person. Like he was the one that would do her bidding. And that just adds a whole other layer to things. Yes, I agree with if it's Frank, if it's and I don't want to say the name wrong, that Lori and Sarah both used their trials as their personal revenge tour. Because I think they both tried to smear their victims' names, so to make their victims look so horrible, to just make them look so bad. I think that was definitely there. Thank you, puzzle pieces. Hello, Dr. Barry in chat. Thank you for helping us gain insight on the behavior and mindset of these two convicted criminals. Yes, anytime. And they both wrote letters. So they both wrote letters when they were upset with the court process that we then got to read. I think they both enjoyed the attention of court TV. Sarah did not get her media interview. I think she wanted to get paid for one. I think she would have done it if somebody had paid her for it. But I think they both enjoyed the attention and the just how popular their cases and everything was. Phoenix is now the head of chat. And in StreamYard, I can't see the ranking system that's over in YouTube. I can't see it here in StreamYard. Um, Lori's defense is that it was a family tragedy. It wasn't no murder was committed. It was just a family tragedy. And when the jury could clearly see what it was. Um I think the state's evidence was stronger in Sarah's case because Sarah recorded so much. Like they had neighbors that heard arguments that happened. They had so I think the state had a bit of a stronger case. The case against Lori, the one in Arizona, the two in Arizona, I feel like they were heavily circumstantial because the main person that did the things was Alex. And the juror even talked about the fact that, like, it wasn't until day 3 or a few days into, because they were just hearing about Alex did this, Alex had the pew pew, like, they heard all of that, and then finally they hear, "Ooh, okay, this was Lori's role and all of this," and, they were both convicted. Um, uh and I think I like the judges in both of their cases. So the judge in the Arizona case, Lori's first trial was not streamed. And so we didn't get to watch and hear and see it. Transcripts have been released. I think audio maybe has been released, but we didn't get to actually see it. I thought the judge in Arizona did a phenomenal job, and then, of course, the Honorable Judge Kranek, like, he did a phenomenal job. So both judges were phenomenal, and they should teach classes on how to deal with defendants that need very specific boundaries. I do think they both Judge Kranek and the judge in Arizona gave them a little bit of room. So, because I think Lori, she was allowed to approach the bench, and that judge in Arizona, he probably doesn't allow many defendants to approach the bench, but she was acting as her own lawyer, and I think the judge wanted to be able to proceed whether or not her advisory counsel was present or available. And then and I think he was just trying to appease her a little. Um yeah. I feel like Sarah Boone was more bold in what she asked for, because Sarah asked for snacks. Snacks. Now, we don't know what Lori asked her lawyers for, because maybe she was asking her lawyers for things. Maybe there were things that we were not aware of that Lori asked. But um, Sarah asked for, I think there were specific snacks. Like, it wasn't just like, "Hey, can I have some snacks?" Like, they were very specific snacks. Both Lori and Sarah complained about the time they had to wake up and the process of getting to court. They both complained about those aspects. Yeah, Sarah asked for makeup. I think Lori probably already has her jailhouse makeup. Like, I think Lori already was fine with her with her makeup. 5 peppermints. It's just like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh." Yes, yes, yes. And for those interested, Lori's Colby, he's beginning to listen to the first trial, so that's awesome. I do follow Colby's channel, and I do check out his information on that. How do you handle people in your family that have narcissistic traits? It can be overwhelming, no matter how much you limit your time with them, and there's a great book for children, and let me see if I can find it. It's called, The Sky is Red, and it's a book that is meant to help kids develop self-trust, inner strength, and resilience. I saw somebody mention it over on social media. Let me share this screen. Okay. And so the book is called, am I sharing the right screen? Oy. I am good. The Sky is Red by Tyra Schwartz. And it's specifically meant to empower children to trust themselves, build self confidence and esteem, and protect themselves from gaslighting, manipulation, and peer pressure. And so, like, hey, if somebody is telling you the sky is red, you have eyes, you can see. For children to be able to have the tools to kind of fight back. And so, I like this resource. And then, Dr. My brain, uh, Dr. Romani is one leading expert in dealing with antagonistic people or in dealing with people with narcissistic traits. There's a great book of hers called It's Not You, because sometimes a person that has narcissistic traits, so somebody like Lori, Sarah, or Jody Hildebrandt, they will sometimes have you questioning, am I wrong? Like, am I the one that's lost it? Am I the one that doesn't see things clearly? Am I the one that's delusional? And so, being able to self validate and being able to recognize the signs and then not getting into power struggles, being aware of some of the tactics, and then being able to set boundaries. So individuals with these traits, they do not like boundaries. And so boundaries for me is about what I'm willing to do. And what I mean by that is, if I have a parent that is always screaming and yelling when we're on the phone, then I'm going to say, like, hey, I have to go. So as the conversation is getting too heated, being able to step out of that conversation, but not putting it on them, saying, "Hey," because letting them know how it affects me may not change their behavior. It might be on me to say, like, oh, I'm going to limit how often I call this person. Or if I call this person, I'm only going to have like 5-10 minutes available that I'm going to, oh, like, oh, I'm in the grocery store. I just wanted to give you a call real quick so that as I need to leave that conversation, I can. If I go to visit that individual, being knowing, okay, I might need to get my own place to stay. Maybe I can only tolerate 2 to 3 days versus staying for an entire week. And so being able to have those conversations, I think that's important. I'm super glad to the psych nerd that recommended this topic. And like I said, like, because I tried to do a little short video but people were like, "No, we need more. We need you to really break these 2 things down." And, some people do go, no contact. And so, oh, wow, was so I don't know if Dr. Ramani was on. I haven't watched the Sherry Papini special yet. I did see, I think Sherry Papini, I think she was on, it's a podcast, Me and My Names. Seriously? Serialously? Yeah, me and names. I think she was on, I wanna say it's Anne, but I'm so bad with Annie. I think it's Annie. She was on her podcast recently. I have not, watched it yet. Okay? Alright. Yes, and somebody mentioned I tried Gray Rock Method, recently, and wow, I'm shocked that it really worked. I'm so glad that it worked for you. So, let me explain for everyone. Gray rock is something that you saw the judge, both Judge Kranek do to Sarah Boone. He did not react to her. So there were times that I'm sure he was incredibly frustrated with her. Now sometimes you would see a little emotion come out, but like he wasn't pulling out his hair. He wasn't getting overly upset with her. You also saw the judge in Lori Vallow's case. He was so calm with her. Even as she's screaming and yelling at him, he set firm boundaries. So there was a point that he was like, I'm not arguing this with you. Discuss it with your counsel. Take her out of here. And so like he 'cause there was a time that he kind of engaged with her and he went back and forth and he realized, "Okay, I need to give you your orders in writing. Like, I'm not gonna give an oral argument or I'm not gonna tell you out loud what I'm just gonna put it in writing. It is what it is, and let's move forward." So gray rock is trying to be boring and dull like a gray rock. So individuals that have narcissistic traits or that are antagonistic, sometimes they crave the back and forth. They crave being able to affect somebody else emotionally. So being able to upset somebody else, being able to make somebody else happy. Now we all understandably are aware of our impact on other people, but there are some people that crave conflict. And that's still a way of giving them attention. And so denying them that, becoming boring, that they'll get bored with you and just move on. So a conversation, if I'm going back and forth with them, we're just going to shout and argue with each other for an hour. But if I refuse to engage in that back and forth, and so if they're like, I don't believe you, that wasn't how it happened, and I just say, okay, and I don't go back and forth with them, those be like they won't know how to handle it. Some individuals that are antagonistic, when you try to gray rock, their behaviors can escalate, and so you have to be careful with gray rock. But that is a technique that that can happen. Um, all right, and so all right. Ah, and then there's also something called yellow rock, where you give a little emotional response, but it's not a full emotional response. Where I might say, I can see this is upsetting you, or like I can see that there's I don't know, or like this conversation is starting to get heavy. And then being able to set a boundary, to say something, being able to acknowledge the emotion, but not going back and forth with them. And that's what I think the judge in Arizona would say, "Are you done? Are you done?" And Lori would also do that, okay. So she would say when she wasn't happy with a witness's response, she would just say, "Okay," but, she didn't really mean it as okay. And so yeah, and Lisa mentioned trying that technique with someone and them actually getting more upset. So that's why you have to be careful, because sometimes a person can escalate when you try to gray rock. This is general information. Please discuss all things with your individual providers. These are just general tips and techniques. Um, and like I said, Dr. Ramani is that expert in how to handle these types of situations. I understand that not everyone can do the full cutoff. And so how can I be in relationship with this person and still protect my own emotional safety, knowing that they aren't going to? And what I mean by that is that, okay, this is a person that because of their own insecurity, because like they have to be the biggest, the best, they make everything competitive, they have to be the brightest in the room. And because the problem can happen when I alter my behavior with safe people because of my interactions with this unsafe person. Because it's understandable when you're around an antagonistic person, okay, I might have to make myself a little small. I might not be able to show my full personality with them. But when I start doing that with other people because of my interaction with that person, that's where I want to have my brain understand that this person is not safe, but that doesn't mean that there's no one that's safe. And so I just like to share that general information. Yes, Judge Boreski. I couldn't remember his name. Y'all know me in names. I loved it when Judge Boreski said that. Um, he did a phenomenal job. And so it's just YouTube does it. It's live with comments. This is a new thing that's done with YouTube. Jenny, did you ask a question? I might have missed it as I was chatting. I don't see your question. If you're able to ask it again, hey Tanika. Hope you're doing well. There we go. So if you ask a question, if you can put the question marks before your question, it just helps me see them. Can you explain how personality disorders are diagnosed, as far as a diagnosis of personality disorders and then specific traits? So within the DSM-5, I'm pretty sure uh, I sometimes keep it right around me. But within the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, there are some people don't meet the full criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. So when Sarah was assessed, her it was, I forget the doctor's name, but it was the forensic psychiatrist that met with Sarah, and she found she had traits of a few different personality disorders. And because within that assessment, she did not find that she met all the criteria for all of them. I'm very careful with diagnosing personality disorders if complex trauma has not been treated, because sometimes personality disorders, not to excuse the behavior or anything, but sometimes it's coming out of a chaotic childhood. So I will sometimes have 18-year-olds that present with symptoms of borderline personality disorder. And unless that diagnosis would help them get access to specific treatment, I am slow to diagnose certain disorders because it can be really hard to get it off somebody's record. And I have worked with individuals that were diagnosed with borderline personality disorder when they were 19, but now in their 40s, they don't have like the struggles they had were really related to their family of origin. And then once they were able to get safe, get some trauma treatment, a lot of those symptoms went away. So if somebody is presenting for treatment or they're presenting with for a psychological evaluation, so I'm a clinical psychologist and not a forensic psychiatrist or psychologist. So a forensic psychologist is often involved in a court case because maybe the defendant is claiming not guilty by reason of insanity, or competency has come into question, or sometimes forensic psychologists might get involved if the defense or the prosecution wants ideas on jury selection or different things, like they might consult with lawyers for different reasons. I look at diagnosis with treatment. So that's how I approach things. Not every person does it the way I do. And if a person doesn't meet all the criteria to have the full diagnosis, sometimes they can have traits. Because for me, I see with Lori Vallow, I see traits of histrionic personality disorder, um, traits of narcissism. And then with Sarah, you see traits of narcissism, and then possibly some other traits for her. She seemed a little like, because there's obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is a cluster. I think it's cluster C, because we don't do clusters anymore. But she just seemed to be very particular, and she was just very like, but it seemed to go beyond just anxiety and it didn't seem to meet criteria for like OCD. And so it seemed more personality. I don't know her. I never met her. Those are just my general thoughts and talking about it. Ah, so because Sarah brought up her diagnosis as a issue, her diagnosis of an alcohol abuse or use disorder, like all of her diagnoses come into play because she claimed mental health. And then Lori Vallow's competency had been questioned. And so that's where her diagnoses had become public. But we don't get to see their what's the word? Their reports. Their reports are often sealed. And so, yes, borderline personality disorder is extremely treatable. It's one of the most treatable ones. Narcissism is more difficult to treat because some of the features of the disorder make it more difficult to treat. There are individuals with narcissistic traits or with narcissistic personality disorder that have realized that they have a problem. Often, when their relationships break down, when they're having issues with their children, and they finally point and say, "Well, maybe it's me. I'm having these same interactions, the same issue across different people in different situations," and they present for treatment. Back in March, I was able to attend a presentation with a woman that treats individuals with narcissistic personality disorder. That is her specialty. Um, if you go back, because I attended the psychotherapy networker conference, and I did a whole video talking about the presentation Dr. Ramani and her gave, and some of my notes from that presentation. The one thing people have to be careful of, if there is somebody with narcissistic traits that gets therapy, that they don't weaponize therapy against their family. An example that Dr. Ramani gave in that presentation was somebody with narcissistic traits going back to the family saying, "Oh, you don't validate me. You have to always agree with me. Like my therapist said, you not agreeing with me means you're not validating me." And that's not what the therapist said. That sometimes the therapist's words can be used back home without the therapist's knowledge. And so people have to just be careful with that. And then sometimes the motivation for an individual with narcissistic traits to get treatment, it's often to save a marriage, to improve. It's normally some other reason. It's not always because they see a problem with themselves. Because within narcissism, there's this inflated ego that's protecting a very fragile, weak ego. So they can't take feedback because they hear feedback as criticism. So anytime you're like, "Hey, maybe you could try it this way," or no matter how you say it, if you're trying to say you should do this different or this is what you're doing wrong, they immediately say, "I'm not wrong, you're wrong," because their egos can't take that feedback. And I'm speaking in general, not with like one specific thing. Okay? All right. Um do children become narcissistic from living with their parents? And so there are lots of different, so there are individuals that did not grow up with a parent displaying traits of narcissism, that can develop narcissistic personality disorder. There's a great book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. And I think both Sarah Boone and Lori Vallow, they are both incredibly emotionally immature. And I've called them middle school mean girls multiple times because the way that they engage, the way that they talk, it doesn't seem like, so they are not young people. Like I think Sarah's, and so I'm 42, okay? But like they're, because the way that they interact, their thought process and how they think, you would assume that this is like an immature 20-year-old or something. And they are not. They are full-blown adults, but emotionally very stunted, almost stuck at a much younger age. And I do think for Lori Vallow, I think her childhood likely did have some trauma. The family, I did go back and listen to, I don't know if you say Megan or if it's Megan. I think it's Connor. Megan Connor. I'm so bad with names, but she has a YouTube channel where she did a deep dive into Lori's father, Barry, and her sister, Summer, and just gave a huge deep dive into all that. I might have to do a video reacting to some of those things. We'll see. We'll see. But let me know if y'all have questions. Thank you for this question and for the QQs. Um, what do you think of how narcissism has become a trend? Yeah, how people just use that to describe everything. So I think narcissism is a spectrum. Everybody does not, because I don't know if either one of these individuals, they likely would, um, but I don't know if they would meet criteria for full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. The full-blown disorder is it's not like 50% of the population has it. I think it's like 1 to 3%. It's a smaller percentage of people. And some people can have narcissistic traits and be relatively successful. My issue with narcissism is that it's actually a weak ego. And the thing that I would want the person to have is a strong ego. And because there's a difference between confidence and narcissism. Because narcissism is that camouflaged, like it's fake. It's this confidence that's not real. It's actually masking an incredibly insecure person. And I think that can be a problem. All right. Do individuals with narcissism sometimes seek therapy to validate or use to weaponize what therapists have said? Yes, that can happen. And that's where the therapist has to be careful. Thank you, thank you. Megan. I thought so. Yes. And not Megan. Megan. Yes. I thought so. All right. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, she would probably do a collab. Because I've seen her do hidden true crime and also Mormon podcast stories. Yes, yes, yes. Uh I will have to look up this one. Oh, Rex Herman. Ugh. Yes. I'll have to look it up. All right. All right. Yes, and so, I can link, her video, the one because it was so good. I can share it to the community. Did I share it on the community tab? Let me check to see if it's already there. So I love supporting other channels. Uh, let me see if I already shared it because it was phenomenal. I don't think I did. Okay. So let's Barry Cox. It was such a good video. It was from 1 month ago. I will share this to the community tab and I will also put it in the chat here. All right. And it was a YouTuber. So it was a psych nerd that recommended that I check out that video. And so thank y'all for recommending things here. All right. Hey Sarah. Um okay. Has anyone seen the case? Okay. So that's a different case. All right. And so with Lori and Sarah, I also wanted to talk about how they both decided to represent themselves. And Sarah wants once Owens came along and would do the things that she wanted to do, she gladly did not represent herself. Lori, I think, chose to represent herself so that she could ask the questions the way that she wanted to ask them. And then also, I think she wanted to speed up the process. I think she wanted to get back to the longer term facility versus jails, which hold people for short periods of time. There aren't the same amenities. You sometimes have to share a room. I don't know. Like she mentioned in one of her interviews that she did not like the short term option. Sarah Boone actually seemed to like the short term option. Sarah has described herself as being claustrophobic, that she doesn't like small spaces, that she didn't want to bunk by herself. I think she feeds off the energy of others, often I think manipulating others. What'd you say? Claustrophobia. Do you know what that is? Because I said it.
It's the fear of small spaces.
Fear of small spaces. Good job.
We learned that during one of the videos.
Yeah, my kiddo's been watching YouTube Kids, and they've been talking about some phobias. Because I think because yes. All right. So we're good. Yes. No.
This is on YouTube on
YouTube on my profile. Cool. Was that like about Minecraft or something, or was it about something else? Yeah, it was on Minecraft. The Minecrafters mentioned different phobias. Hey, Gigi. So this is my real life mama is real life Gigi. Gigi said you're so smart. Her relationship with Alex. So Lori Vallow's Daybell's relationship with her brother Alex was weird. Nobody's ever confirmed anything intimate between them. He seemed to have a love for her that went beyond just like sisterly. Like it just seemed to be weird. The relationship just seemed to be very odd. Yes, my kiddo is very inquisitive. I mentioned earlier he's almost 8 years old, and he knows that crime is bad. don't don't do crimes. And but if I talk about cases that are sensitive, I make sure that he's not I'm in the room. Yes. So I was a very curious kid, and I think curiosity can help kids think. So I always want my kiddo to be thinking. I want him to know that he can voice his thoughts and concerns. And so I like doing that. All right. All right. And I think both Lori and Sarah wanted people to be obsessively loyal to them while they were not loyal to anyone, really. So I think Lori was loyal to Chad, but I think that's because she's like in love with him, and because Chad turned on her. Chad's lawyer said she was the one that like it was she was the vixen that stole him from his wife, and she did all the crimes. Wasn't aware of anything. If there was a crime, he didn't know about it. Like that's what Chad's lawyer tried to say. Lori never threw him under the bus in any of her trials, and it'll be interesting to see if Brandon's ex Melanie is ever arrested, because I know the state is looking in to the evidence that they have with that case as well. All right. Question. Family history. Alex got a traumatic brain injury in his late teens. Would that affect his reasoning? So it might affect his impulse control, but I think he had a history of some like criminal behavior, and I think he was the family scapegoat and like the person that just couldn't get it right. And I think Lori and Chad gave him a purpose, because he Alec might have believed that he was actually, you know, helping them with their godly mission, that maybe people really were dark. And I don't I don't know. Like, and then I think there was a part of him, because it's my understanding that he had some like um he had been kicked out of the church for some, I don't know if it was web searches or some inappropriate things he had done in an intimate way. And it sounds like impulse control, managing himself, was something that he really struggled with. All right. Um what was his name? Wade Wilson tried to use a prior traumatic brain injury to kind of explain his behavior, And the judge and the jury did not buy that at all. Because he tried to say he had organic brain damage and that was why he did all the things. Like he just to me, I think both Alex and Wade Wilson, they likely have full-blown antisocial personality disorder where the rules don't apply to them. They have no qualms with breaking the law, and they thankfully they're not like they get caught. And so, yeah. All right. All right. So glad to share. I appreciate you all being here. All right. Dr. Berry, what do you think about Lori's religious zealousness and how she became seemingly delusional in regards to her kids being zombies? So that's where I'm not sure if she really believed, because the zombies seem to be people that were against her, people that she viewed as obstacles. And but so they weren't really zombies. So I don't think that it's hard to know where everything lies, because she doesn't say now that she believes that they're zombies. She says Lori's messed up story now is that somehow Tylee, and so I don't even wanna repeat it because it doesn't follow the facts, because we know Tylee died first. We know that. But in Lori's mind, she's created the story, but I think the story she's created is to make her a good mom. And so I think Lori Vallow and Sarah Boone, they both desperately want to be viewed as good moms despite being incredibly neglectful, selfish, and not, like, not very good moms at all. Very unsafe people that if I was a co-parent with either one of them, I would good for my child to even have a relationship with this person. Can this person come outside of themselves to give the child what the child needs? And that's what can be difficult when co-parenting with somebody with narcissistic traits, is that often they prioritize their own wants and needs and not the child, and not necessarily as like they don't go as far as Lori and Sarah. Sometimes with the court system, people do have to still let the children be around. And I will mention this book again, because I've heard good things about it. I will have to order it for myself. It's called The Sky is Red. Helps children build self-trust, confidence, and inner strength. And I also like there's another book called Trauma Proofing Your Kids. Because I can't protect my child from everything. And what I mean by that is I want my child to be resilient no matter what comes his way. If something bad did happen or was going on in my child's life, I would want him to feel safe enough to come tell me, his dad, somebody at school, a safe, trusted adult that is going to report it and that is going to help make sure that he is safe. This is an older book. It's written by Dr. Peter Levine. I've heard him give a few talks. There might be some more updated books. um yeah, like he has Waking the Tiger. He has some good books if you're ever looking for some resources. All right, let's go. Yeah, a lot of people seem to blame traumatic brain injuries. Yes, when probably a third of football players likely have traumatic brain injuries, and many of them do not go on to commit crimes or any of those things. Traumatic, yes, exactly. So I think he was the football player. I don't know me. Aaron Hernandez. I want to say Rodriguez. So I knew the name in my head was wrong. Aaron Hernandez tried to say the CTE was responsible for his lack of uh, emotional control and all those things. There are treatments. So if a person is experiencing difficulties with impulse control and increased anger, if those types of symptoms are presenting, there are supports and resources and treatments people can receive to help with that. All right. If Lori truly believes her children were zombies, why doesn't she? Yes, exactly. So that's why I I think she does not want to admit that she was involved in their deaths at all. Um, I don't think she wants to admit that. Oh, all right. Y'all are too sweet. Yes, and so they are the birthing persons. I don't know what to. Yes. Ah, Waking the Tiger. Yes. And thankfully, we do not recommend any books written by Corey Richins. Yes, exactly. I will be following her trial. What involvement would be appropriate for Sarah with her son, knowing everything you know? Supervised visits, decision making. So I can't give a professional recommendation or, in general, what I would say, an individual like Sarah, I would want her child to have an option of whether he wanted to see her or not. I would want him to have that choice because I do think with all that they've been through, all because this child has had to move because of bullying, because people found out what his mother had done. And so what Sarah Paulson did. And and so I wish the child could have choice. So that's what I've done in situations like this, especially when the parent is incredibly immature and the child is 12 years old or older. If I am advocating for the child, I often try to recommend that the contact be the child's choice. I think with Sarah, it's going to be supervised anyway because she is incarcerated. I think everything is recorded. Um, I don't think she would abide by any limits or rules, because I think Sarah would try to ask, "Okay, what's your dad doing? You know, what's your dad buying? You know, what's your dad? Is he working?" Like, I think she would always continue to press her child for more information. I do hope the child has a good therapist. As a therapist, I have been called in when there have been custody issues, and if I've never met the other parent, I can't say this, but I can get in general, I can communicate what the child wants. If there's a good guardian ad litem, and not every case has that neutral lawyer or that child representative that's supposed to represent the child's best interest. In Virginia, we also have CASA workers sometimes. And with CASA workers, that's just a regular citizen that agrees to meet with kids and parents involved in the juvenile domestic relations court, and sometimes they give recommendations or information to the court as well. But in general, my top choice would be that the child be able to say whether they want any contact at all, because I think Sarah wants it, but I think Sarah wants it for her and what's best for her, and she's not at all thinking about the emotions of the child. The child might want some relationship with her, but he might say, "Okay, I want maybe like twice a year or 3 times a year." But that's where the child would be able to set it up. If the child is under the age of 12, that's where I try to get a little bit more protective. Um, and knowing that Sarah's incarcerated, because with her being incarcerated, we can't do therapeutic supervised visitation because she's incarcerated. Like, she's just gonna get phone calls. I don't know if her jail, I don't know if they do contact visits or not, and I don't even know if the child would even want to do something like that. It was my understanding that the child was very close to George, and so I just wonder how the child has grieved and has dealt with that. It's my understanding that George played with him, and that it sounds like he was the one that gave him positive attention, and yet, she will always be the person that birthed him. And I know how we feel about her, but I allow my clients and the children to have their own thoughts and feelings, and sometimes it's a mixed bag. Um, and so, um, yeah, that things aren't all or nothing. And while because of the things I've seen and the things I know of Sarah Boone, I don't have a very positive image of her. There are other people that see a different side of her, and I respect that. Yeah. So Sarah's prison has in-person visits. She's trying to get him to bring the son to prison, and so that's where I would want the child to be able to say whether he wanted an in-person visit or not. Because I know she wants it, but like, ma'am, you're in jail for the rest of your life for murder. And so, like, I'm surprised they don't try to terminate her parental rights. Um, if it was me, if I was Brian, I would probably and terminating parental rights is hard, especially if DSS isn't involved. Um, but I don't see how there wasn't a neglect case filed for her, because it sounds like he was wandering the complex, and it sounds like there were major issues, and she was a problem. Thanks for the compliments on the hair. Thank you, thank you. What Sarah wants doesn't matter. Exactly. Exactly. All right. And I don't know that she'll ever get it, because it would be her having she, in my opinion, both Sarah Boone and um, Lori Vallow struggle to have empathy for somebody that has a different perspective from theirs. So I think Lori probably feels bad for Chad. Like, she probably has empathy of like somebody in her same situation. So other women that are incarcerated, I think she has some empathy for them, but it's cognitive empathy. I don't know that it's felt empathy. Um, and then but I don't think she has empathy for her son, Colby, and I don't think Sarah has empathy for her child, that she could see, hey, for a teenage boy, like, on the Saturday, he doesn't wanna drive to go visit his mom in prison. Like, I don't think Sarah can even fathom that her child might not want to see her. I don't know that she can even fathom it, and I don't know that the child feels safe enough to even say that to her. So in my therapy and work with kids, sometimes I have a lot of people that sometimes get passive, because that's how they've survived a difficult relationship with their parent, is that submit or that people pleasing response of just like, if I just try to make them happy, they'll give me the amount of love that they can. Like, if I just do what they want, I'll get some acknowledgement, because if I say no to them, they're going to like, it's gonna be bad for my dad. Like, she's gonna take it out on my dad. And so, it's just very sad, and it, just breaks my heart. Um, yeah. And so, um, all right, all right. So we have reached a time where I need to go feed the kiddo. Are you starting to get hungry? Starting to get hungry?
What
It's 7:04.
I will eat
You'll eat then? Okay, I'm gonna check on the problem that you let me know about earlier to see how everything is. I appreciate you all. Thank you to the person that recommended this topic. Let me do one last question. Maybe it's just this comment. In my opinion, Brian, yeah. So we talk about family dynamics in a recent video, and we talked about enablers. And I think Ryan survived I think he just wanted his son to be okay. And so I don't think Brian fought a lot. And I think he might have hoped that maybe one day Sarah could get sober, and she could go back to that person that she was. Because I don't know, the person that she is today, it doesn't seem like she was always like this bad. Like, it seems like alcohol, and then like things just kept getting worse and worse. And she's dug herself in more and more. And so uh And in her mind, I wonder if Sarah, because she hasn't seen him, like, she hasn't been able to be in his life. What she's been incarcerated for all those years. And when he was a child, I don't know that she knew her child's interest. So I told y'all I did a Disney video recently. I love Stitch. My son no longer likes Stitch. So I don't buy my son Stitch stuff because he likes Sonic and Minecraft and BB-8. If it's something Disney, he likes the droids. Like that's what my son likes. And he's allowed to like things that I don't like, or we're allowed to have different interests because we're not the same person. Individuals that are emotionally immature, they struggle when their children try to be their own independent person and they try to have their own independent wants, desires, all those things. And so ugh, that's my last drop for the day. Uh ah how do people become prone to like cult groups? They're often looking for like, it often comes from like wanting to find enlightenment, wanting to find belong to a group. Cults normally, they start out love bombing. Like it's great at first, and then the harm slowly happens and ramps up, and then you may not realize, oh my gosh, I don't talk to anybody except people in this group, or I'm slowly becoming more and more isolated. And so, if somebody is in a cult, one of the worst things you can do is say you're in a cult. Like sometimes we talk about people being in high demand groups or high demand organizations. Um, because when you say like, "Hey, you're in a cult," first person like, "No, I'm not." So I love Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech, we do Enter the Sandman, where Metallica actually did a concert at Tech recently where everybody jumps. Like if you go to Virginia Tech, even if you are not a Hokie, if you go to a football game and they do Enter the Sandman, you will probably want to jump up and down for Enter the Sandman because it's an experience, okay? And I adore this university almost like I don't know, but I don't like they don't have control over my life. My child can choose to go to a different university. I use things like that because sometimes people don't realize how much like a group can impact what they wear, how they dress, what they do, where they go, where they don't go, and so it can be a thing. Um, uh, all right. Coercive control, yes. And I hope that they start teaching coercive control in schools because I think that's incredibly important. Thank you so much, Sanika. You're the best. All right. I'm gonna go feed my kiddo now. I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. I will see y'all on Saturday. Hopefully, it is much cooler. Y'all have a good one. Bye.